So as of the day of this recording is actually the 26th, which is Thanksgiving Day 2020. And I'm just out here in a parking lot as usual, about to do a project, which means I have a bunch of tools pulled out on that table. I have a bunch of new stuff that I'm going to show you. And basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be cleaning up my electrical system, which I always thought was a mess. And it was actually made worse by, as far as like neatness, it was actually made worse by installing the dual battery isolator that allows me to charge from an engine, mostly because I just was trying to get the wiring done as usual, and so I wasn't really able to go back and do a lot of cleanup. I just kind of got it done, because a lot of times when you're out in the parking lot, you just want to get it done and move on. You don't have time to be delicate or careful or any of that stuff. A lot of my van can be called a rush job due to the situation, and I just want to take some time to make things a little better. But let's look at what I got out right now. Alright, so first of all, I bought this, which will allow me to find out what gauge of wire I have. Some wires are marked and some aren't, so I bought this little wheel just so I can figure out the wire gauge and I'm not guessing. Sorry, the cat is dragging a leaf on his lead. Let's take the leaf out of there so that stops making noise. He's just hanging out. But anyway, back to the table. This is just my multi-tool. But anyway, I have some black electrical tape. Unfortunately, I only have the thick stuff and everything's closed today. I have some red electrical tape, which is just nice when you have a black wire that's positive, to put a little bit of red tape on the end so that it, at least you can tell at the end point if it's positive or negative. So I got some red electrical tape. These are new wire snips because I only had wire snips for small wire, and it really made my last install very difficult. So I got a nice pair that can cut wire that's a little bit bigger, not a lot bigger, but it can take care of wire the size that I need to handle. I'm going to be installing this on, no, I'm lying, this is the wrong one. This one I'm saving because it goes to something, but I do have a 12-volt port around here that I'm going to be installing. This is a lot of my wire left over from old projects that I'm repurposing. These are my old wire snips. This is my crimp connector for giant lugs. I'm going to be adding this to the van, and I'll show you where when I install it. But it has 4 USB ports and 3 12-volt ports, so I'm going to be adding that to the van. This is a wire stripper. This is a crimp connector. This is a crimp connector. This one is for solar, for the MC4 connectors. This is for the smaller gauge wire crimp connectors, the ones that tend to come in red, blue, and yellow. And literally you just match them according to color. This is a lot of stuff I'm talking about when you build your own solar system. So when people say it's cheaper, they don't tell you that you're going to end up buying all these tools that you don't own. So one of the things I need to do is fix the cord that's running between the battery isolator and the battery in the back of the van, and I just didn't have long enough cord to fix it. So that's what this is for. It's a Windy Nation cord. What else do I have over here? This is a new antenna for my cell booster because the antenna's actually broke, and I just decided to get another antenna instead of trying to keep it holding together. These are lugs. There's just some tools that I already owned. These are bus bars, so I can really clean up over there directly around the battery, and I'll do some more showing of what that is later. And that's the main mess I have over here. This mess will hopefully help me clean up my electrical system. So one of the first things I'm doing is really simple, and that's this new antenna. I literally just need to unplug the old one and plug the new one in. The old one was coming apart right here, and yeah, it wasn't something I could easily find a way to repair, so I just got this one. This one does feel more heavy duty than the one I had, so we'll see how that works out.
Swapping the antennas turned out to be the easiest part of the day. Now that I was ready to hit serious stuff, I had to disconnect the solar panels. Forgot to mention that I also got a multimeter, which I used to figure out the polarity, I think polarity is the right word, of a 12-volt socket I was going to attach to my fan. After figuring out which side was positive and which side was negative on the new 12 volt plug, well, not really new, it's just a repurposed 12 volt plug from something else, then I proceeded to connect it to the existing positive and negative wire on my 12 volt fan. I then used my camp stove to shrink the heat shrink. I then used the jackery to test the fan. Then it was time to clean up this mess, which became, I'll admit, a trip hazard. I disconnected everything from the battery before I started. Then I loosened the stair covering on the driver's side so I could tuck the cord behind it. Then I added lugs to the new cable and proceeded to run it from the back of the van to the front. The final product was a much better cable run, which didn't have any of the trip hazards it had before. Now it was time to start the main job, finding a place for the bus bars and then starting to cut and crimp a lot of cables so that they didn't run as long and ran a bit neater. This was a much more time-consuming project than I realized. And so what ended up happening was I actually ended up working into the night, and I still was not done cleaning up all of the cable. I don't know if you can tell how much improved things are, but let's talk about it. While it didn't turn out as nice as I'd like, the bus bar did allow me to take away some of the spider's web of cables that were all running directly to the battery. Now, there's a cable running from the bus bar to the battery on the positive and negative side, and the only other two cables running directly off the battery are the dual battery isolator and the charge controller. Everything on the fuse block is labeled now, so there's no more what is that cord. I also actually shortened every cord and put a new end on it, hooking it to the fuse box so that there wasn't all this extra cable to coil up. It's exactly the length to reach the fuse block and no longer. I had this before, got rid of it, and now I've added it back again. This is basically a coiled up 12 volt extension cord that I can run out the back door. Its main purpose is for when I'm on a campsite and I want to hook up my 12 volt shower. I can run the cord away from the van, right beside the van, etc., etc. I can also just use it for any situation where I want to have some 12 volt power outside for a 12 volt accessory of some sort. I added cable clips to several sections to try to keep the cords kind of held in a neat position. Didn't always work, but I did the best I could. For things like the battery charger, where I wasn't going to cut the cable to length or cut the cable at all because it just wouldn't make sense, I just coiled them up and tied them up with twist ties and tried to arrange them in a way that was a little neater than they were before. While not perfect, it looks so much better in the overall. And sometimes all you get out of a project is an improvement. Not what you dreamed of, but close enough that you feel pretty good about your work. I'll see you guys in the next video. So scrolling by right now, you'll see a lovely list of the people who have decided to contribute to this channel through Patreon or YouTube memberships. And I so appreciate these people because it makes doing YouTube better. But if you can't join Patreon or YouTube memberships, you can really still support this channel by just watching videos all the way to the end, subscribing, and sharing the video with friends. The YouTube algorithm will be pleased. I'll get recommended to more people, and the channel will continue to grow, which is also an awesome and important contribution. If you made it this far, thanks for watching.